I'm joined by Marie. Marie, thank you very much for coming in. You've come all the way up from Limerick this morning.
Yes, I have. Thank you.
I do appreciate you coming in. And what I will say is I'm not going to be grilling you on your finances. But if there's anything I ask and you're going to go, oh, I didn't want to share that, just say it and we'll go out. Because what I'm hoping today is, I know you've got some money sitting on deposit. I know it's been sitting on deposit for quite some time. How long has it been there?
In Ireland, 5 years, and abroad for probably 10 years.
Okay, and it's been sitting in a bank account for 10 and 5 years, two different amounts of money sitting, doing nothing, getting very little interest.
Yeah, just going down in value the whole time.
Okay, and what I'm hoping to do, and what I'm hoping you're going to get out of this, is that by the end of this conversation, you're going to feel comfortable that you would actually move it from a bank account to something else.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm hoping we're going to get from that. That's the goal, and let's see how close we can get to it. So before I just want to ask you a few questions before I start kind of schooling you. And you're a teacher, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
So before I start being the teacher here, I just want to ask you, what is the money for? Is it for a deposit for a house, or do you have a house? What's the money for?
I suppose it is a deposit for a house, but a house that I've been looking at since 2015.
Okay.
I've just gone to see numerous houses and never bit the bullet.
Okay.
You know?
And why not?
I don't know, just afraid to, I suppose, the risk.
And are you renting at the moment, or are you living at home?
I'm not renting, but I'm in a house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're in a house and you're just afraid to bite the bullet. And is that because of a location thing? Is it because you don't know where your life is going to lead you?
That's probably it as well. That's probably it too, yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned you were in Australia for a while. How long were you in Australia for?
6.5 years over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've back from there since 2018, are you?
Since 2018, mid-2018, yeah.
Okay. And when you think about the purchase of a house, does it scare you?
It does. Like, I know I need to do it. But yeah, it does scare me.
Do you need to do it?
I think just with being like, oh yeah, this is where I'm going to be now for good. Because I love travelling. I like moving. And I think that's probably it too.
But having said that, if you had done this 5 years ago, you
would
would
double or more.
And you've been in you've been in the same location. You've been in and around Limerick for the last 5 years, have you?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that reluctance is there for you to buy somewhere, right? Because if you don't want to say this is where I'm going to be forever. And a house feels like forever, does it?
And I don't know, just it's a massive purchase too. Just it's kind of scary, you know?
Okay. And that kind of confuses me, if I'm honest, because I'm kind of sitting back, right? It scares you. You have the money there to put the deposit down.
Yeah.
You're in a stable job. You're permanent, I assume.
Yeah.
So you're a dream for a bank. You would probably get the mortgage, no hassle.
Yeah.
But yet you're kind of sitting there going, no, I'm afraid of this.
Yeah.
And I know, look, we all have employers who might be listening to us, but it's not that you're planning on travelling again or anything, is it?
No.
So
I have nice holidays now, so I'm good.
Okay, so you can do your nice holidays. You got your breaks, and you scratch that travel bug each year with your summer breaks and everything else. Okay. And have you ever, when it comes coming back to the money, so one of the problems you're going to have is if you're sitting on deposit, depending on how much money it is, right? But if you're sitting on deposit and you're thinking about buying a house sometime in the future, you are do have a barrier there because you don't know when you buy how much of a deposit you're going to need, how much of your savings you're going to need.
Yeah.
But is it fair to say that the amount of money you have saved so far that you could cover deposit and still have some left over that you're not going to need for the house?
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just concentrate. I'm going to break that out in a bit. So what we're saying is that you have a sum of money in two different bank accounts, some here and some in Australia. But in total, you could cover the deposit for your house and you'd still have money left over that you don't need and it's just wasting away in the bank account.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
So let's concentrate on just that part of the money first. Okay. When you look at it, if you're not going to use, you haven't used it in the last 5 years. In fact, some of it you haven't used in the last 10 years, right?
Yeah.
If you're not going to use it in the next 5 years, do you feel any regret yet that you've been sitting on it for 10 years?
I have massive regret, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And looking back, do you think if you had made any different decisions, it would have changed any, like if you had have invested this money 10 years ago, do you think it would have stopped you from doing anything that you've done in the last 10 years?
No.
Okay.
Probably wouldn't have.
So you do have the regret already about the past.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know anything about the investing. I don't know anything about that. But just if I was to buy a house, which I could have done in 2015, it would have been way better.
And okay, and you know what? We're gonna have to get this elephant out of the room because it's really soon. Do you mind telling me why you haven't bought a house?
I just don't know. I don't know. I genuinely don't know why I just didn't do it. Yeah. I don't know. And then I think, just thinking, oh God, will they come down? Oh, it's at a peak. Oh, actually, it wasn't at a peak. Now it's gone double, that kind of a thing.
And is it because you're trying to, like, what I would always say is you buy a house that you're happy to stay in for 15 years, that you love and you can afford.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like if you just found a house that you were happy to stay in, and maybe that's the problem, you're not happy to stay, you can't put your roots down anywhere and you can't stay anywhere. But yet you've been in the same place for the last 5 years.
I know, yeah. Yeah.
Do you mind me asking, you're in a relationship?
I am, yeah.
Okay. And would you be buying by yourself or with them?
By myself.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that factoring at all? And I don't want to pry too much. Is that factoring at all, the whole relationship thing? And is that factoring at all in your decision?
Possibilities of future and things, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a bit.
And is that you're kind of potentially hold off and you buy together at some stage? Or is it that?
I don't know really.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it okay? I'm actually going to leave that alone because I feel for you there. I can see you squirming, so I'm going to leave you alone completely on that one. Right. Let's take a step back out of that again. You have some money that even if you bought a house, you would still have money left over after your deposit.
Yeah.
That's sitting and you've done nothing with it. Mm-hmm. In the last 5 years, if you had have taken, and I'm giving a round number here, right, so that everyone can kind of relate to the figures. If you had taken €10,000 in 2018, okay, which is what you told me that you put money into an Irish bank account at that time. If you had put it into a bank account and got 0.5% on it, it would actually be worth, with compounding, €10,276. Ignore tax, right?
Yeah.
You probably didn't even get that in the bank account in the last 5 years, okay? If you had taken it and invested it in a 60-40 no-brainer portfolio, it would be worth just under €11,500 today.
Okay.
And that's actual numbers. That's not guesses. That's not projections. That's actually the last 5 years to today, right? From the 1st of January 2018 to today, that's exactly what you would have made off it. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's an extra €1,250. Now, we don't know what your number, and we don't need to know what your number because it's the maths here that's important. You have just lost, for every €10,000 that you're not needing towards your deposit, that doesn't have any goal, that's just sitting there, right? You have lost €1,250 in the last 5 years alone.
Lovely.
You have a choice over the next 5 years, and the next 10 years, and the next 20 years, whether you want to beat that or you want to kind of reverse that or you want to just continue to do it. The last 5 years wasn't particularly good for investments, right? You put in 10, be worth 11.5 today, but it wasn't particularly good, okay? We've had the last 3 years in particular have been up and down on a sideways trend. Usually things are up and down on an upwards trend, but they were up and down on a sideways trend. So the first thing you have to accept is doing nothing is losing your money.
Yeah.
But you probably agree with that, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So doing absolutely nothing, you're going to lose money, and particularly money against inflation. Inflation's a massive problem at the moment. So when I really think about it, when you start to think about where your push points are, you're either going to be pulled towards something or you're going to run away from something. So when I'm telling you the figure there that it's gone from 10 to 10,250 when it could have gone from 10 to 11.5,
yeah.
Which one, is it the pain of missing out on the £1,500 that gets you, or is it the potential that you might get 1,500? Where's the pain points for you there?
Yeah, no, I know. I definitely know I'm losing money there. I think I don't see it as like the investment portfolio. Again, I know nothing about any of that, but I just see it in the house prices. Like, as in the house that I could have bought in 2015 I would have made 100 and something thousand on it if I was to sell it now, kind of a thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's what I see. I see the difference in the house prices. I see what I could buy now for the money I had back then, and it's less than half the house I could have got. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's how I'm
seeing
seeing
we're
it.
back to houses again, right?
Yeah. Sorry, no, because I just don't know anything about investing.
But the thing about it is that what I'm looking at is when I'm looking at your finances and you're telling me this is what you're looking at, you can do the deposit for the house. You can buy the house you want and have the deposit for the house, right? But you're still going to have another chunk of money that's not getting any return on it.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to put it all into the house.
No, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you're still going to have a chunk of money that you're going to do it. Like, when you start to think about investing money and you start putting money away long term, there's a couple of options you have, right? The first option is you go and you chase the next big thing, right? So we could put money into crypto for you, or gold, or NFTs, or something like that. I don't believe in the next big thing. I believe in the last big thing. I don't believe that we can identify the next big thing. In fact, we have to invest in 22 next big things for one of them to work out. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you meet someone who says, I made a fortune on something, right? Whether it's NFTs or whatever, crypto or whatever it is, one of two things has happened there. Either they were really lucky and they went straight into the one that made them loads of money, or they're not telling you about the 21 that they lost money on.
Yeah.
And if the 22nd one does really well, it might cover the losses he made in the first 21, right? So that's one option. It's not my bag. I'm not going to go near it, right? It's not the type of thing that we do. The next thing we could look at is property. And one of the questions I'd have for you is if you were buying a property as an investment, but not to live in it, and you were going to rent it out, would it change your decision around making a property purchase?
Yeah, I think in my head, like if I was to buy a property now, it would be one that I would definitely rent out a room in kind of thing to get that 14,000 government thing. Like that is what I'd be looking at now.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
And is that a viable option for you to take some of your cash?
It is a viable option, yeah.
And how active are you about doing that though?
Rubbish.
Right, okay. But why are you rubbish? Is it that you just have no interest in it?
No, I have massive interest in it, but I don't know. Just actually doing it. Just actually doing it. Like, I've gone to see them. I've been like, oh yeah, this is nice.
Have you ever got mortgage approval?
Yeah. Numerous times.
Have you got mortgage approval right now?
No, it's just lapsed there about a month ago.
Okay. And you didn't find anything within your price range?
I didn't actually look that much, really.
Why did you bother getting mortgage approval if you didn't go active about looking for it?
Because I was looking at something. Did I? I don't know.
Okay. So there was something.
I feel like no, I did. I looked at a 3-bed duplex.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't buy it. How long ago was that?
And I
6
didn't
months
buy
ago?
it. That was around July or August.
Okay.
No, sorry, not this year. Last year.
Okay.
That was another mortgage approval property.
Okay, so there was a different mortgage approval.
Yeah, yeah.
So you looked at something, you didn't buy it. The
Yeah.
intention of that was you were going to rent a room in it for 14 grand a year. And
Yeah.
that didn't, the fact that it was an investment property that you were going to live in, it didn't change your attitude to whether you should buy or not.
Well, no, I did. I was bidding on it, like.
And you just got outbid on it.
And I got outbid on it, yeah.
Okay.
I could have gone more, but I didn't feel like it was worth what it was going for.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're an interesting one. You really are, because what generally what happens is you've got someone sitting in front of you and you're going, oh yeah, no, I don't have the money. This is really, and they have a very clear path about what they want to do.
Yeah.
You have money
I'm
there
the
in the
opposite.
background and you
Yeah.
can do it, but you're just not taking that leap.
Yeah.
So you're kind of stuck in limbo, and you have been for the last 10 years by the sound of it.
Nearly, yeah. Yeah.
Where does it go to then? What are you going to do? Are you going to be sitting here in 10 years'
No,
time?
I want to invest it. You have to teach me how to do that now on.
That's fair, but we're not getting over the property thing. This is the problem.
So do you think I should get a property?
I think you should get a home.
A home.
But I think me saying to you, I think you should get a home is scaring the crap out of you. That's what I'm feeling, and maybe I'm picking it up wrong. But what I'm getting from you is that that's too much of a long-term decision, and I'm not sure I want to make that long-term decision yet. But please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
Like what it feels like for me is that you've got the money there, you've got the mortgage approval there. You're kind of sort of looking at properties, but you're not really committing, and you're kind of going, I'm just not sure where life is going to bring me over the next couple of years, and therefore I'm going to hold off here on making this decision. And what's happened is you've been holding off for 10 years. Now, I would guess that you're actually really only holding on for the last 5 years. Then this is my guess, right? And I don't know yet, and I don't know your finances. But my guess is you came back from Australia with a plan in 2018. You says, right, I'm going to get myself sorted out in the house. And then life happened and different circumstances came in. You've been sitting on it for the last 5 years going, yeah, I'll get this done when this or when that, and when it feels right, and it just doesn't feel right all the time, and therefore you're not making the plunge. Am I completely off kilter?
Yeah, I suppose when I came home was just to see, is it Ireland I wanted to be in, and then I suppose COVID and everything happens. Then I was here, and now I'm happy out here. You know, now I know I am.
Is Ireland forever now?
Ireland is forever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to stay in Ireland. You're going to put your roots down. Look at you, feeling comfortable. Look. Sorry, let's get over this. Are you staying in Ireland?
I am.
For the foreseeable future.
I am,
You've no intentions of, and you're getting your holidays during the summer.
So I can do my travelling then. And I've done my far away bits now, you know.
Okay. Okay. So what is it that's stopping you buying a home?
Okay, so just buy it, is it?
But what's stopping you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it a real fear? Like, I actually don't believe you when you say to me, oh, prices might go down. That you're afraid of
now
that.
I think I realise now that's never going to happen.
Well, sorry, they could go down.
They could,
right?
but they're not going to go down huge.
But based on history, if you buy now and it falls apart tomorrow, in 15 years' time, they're going to be okay. you're going to be in positive, right? So if you can hold on to the property, and buying a property and saying to yourself, I'm going to keep it for 15 years, doesn't mean, like, if life changes and, I don't know, something else happens and you buy somewhere else, it's not mean that you have to have the property in 15 years. It's just, what I hate is when people say, I'm going to buy this property and then in 2 years' time I'm going to sell it and I'm going to buy my proper one. Then you're hooked to the property market. Don't make decisions where the property market is deciding where you're going to next.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to keep the control on your side. But I don't understand, I'm struggling to understand why it is that you're not taking that leap and what's the barrier, what the blockage is there. I don't know what it is.
I don't know either.
But when you go and see them and you're bidding on them, if that one that you were bidding on had worked out, would you have gone with it?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
And was there not serious disappointment afterwards when it didn't happen? Were you
It was actually an online auction, so it was live bidding as well.
And were you not gutted afterwards?
Well, I had a number that I was like, this is my cap. And then I went over that and I was like, okay, I really need to stop now. Just because of what I thought it was worth.
Okay.
You know? I could have kept going. But
but my point is not even that property didn't work out. My point is that it didn't then drive you on to go and find another one. Because that one didn't work out. No, because I didn't
see one that I liked as much as that one, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you looked at much since?
I don't. I looked at one last week.
Did you?
I did.
And it's within price range and everything?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I might.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. Okay. You see, you really got me now here, because I expected us to sit down and you say, oh no, I have my house sorted out, but I have some cash here to spare, but I'm just
the house, I mean, like, so it's the house I grew up in, like, so I'm lucky, like, my parents live up the road, my sister is next door to me as well.
Okay.
So I'm in a house where I suppose there's no big push to get me out the door, kind of a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Hold on a second. So you're living in the original family home.
Yeah.
And you're comfortable.
It's handy, like.
It's handy and you're grand.
Yeah.
And you don't have a mortgage.
There's no stress to, like.
You have it too easy then.
Maybe that's it.
But that is that.
Yeah. So I'm in there about a year. So I was renting before that.
So that's interesting. So when you were renting, you were going looking and bidding on houses, and now you've got a free gaff.
More active, yeah.
Now you've got a free gaff, and your mammy's up the road cooking you dinners.
She's not. My dinners are better.
Okay, your dinners are better. Okay, but you have it handy now, and the kind of drive to go and buy something has kind of started
Last a bit, I suppose. Yeah.
Would you buy the house you're in?
I'd have to do an awful lot of work to it. And if they give it to me, it's on a farm. It's a very long story.
Okay. Okay. Wow. But you see, where's the drive going to come from then? And sorry, do you worry that life is going to change and that you might move job, or that you?
No, I'm happy out where I'm working and all. But I don't know.
But you see, this is really interesting, because now what I'm hearing is like you're happy out where you're working. You're happy that you're staying in Ireland. You're happy that the home you're in is comfortable. It's where you grew up. You've got family around you.
Yeah.
It's grand.
Yeah.
And there's no real driver for you to go off and do anything else.
Yeah, but I think the only thing, like, I just know that I'm being stupid with money in the bank.
Yeah, but you know what? If you turned around to me and says, you know what? I'm definitely going to stay here for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to stay in this house, and accepted it. Said I'm going to stay in this house. In 5 years' time, now we can take all of your cash and go invest it for 5 years.
Right.
Okay? And now, if you're kind of just waiting to see where life goes, and you haven't said this, and I'm saying this, but maybe you're waiting to see what way relationships go and see what way things go there. And this is me, and you haven't given me anything before or afterwards, right? You see where work goes, you see where relationship goes, you see how things go at home. If you said, you know what, I'm absolutely not buying a house for the next 5 years, we can take all of your cash and invest it, and I can absolutely convince you now in the next 5 minutes that this is the right thing to do. But the first decision has to be, am I going to need any of my cash in the next 5 years, whether it's for a house or for something else? Okay? And I'm not asking you to make that decision right now. What I'm asking you is that you have a unique circumstance in that you reckon you have enough savings to cover deposit and still have some left over, okay? And what I'd love you to do is to leave here today and kind of go, would my life, am I wrecking my head right now? Like, I'm happy where I am, I'm comfortable where I am, there's nobody forcing me out, right? And would I be happier just to see how life goes over the next 5 years? And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to stay where I am. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to stick this money somewhere else, so that at least I can try and keep pace with the prices of property, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, the problem with it is once you start investing, if you're investing for less than 5 years, the risk is too high to do it, and you shouldn't do it. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to consider while I'm talking, what I'm going to bring you through now is I want you to be thinking about either the money that you have sitting on deposit. What we're talking about now here is either all of your money because you're going to stay where you are for 5 years, or your money that's left over after you know what the deposit's going to be. Okay, because you're not going to use that in the next 5 years either, right? When it comes to investing, you've never done it before. No, and you haven't a clue what it's all about or how it works or anything like it. And that's what you've told me already. There's a couple of things. What I would say is we can go after next big thing, or we can go after property, right? Property, we're going to look after yourself, and we've touched on that already. Yeah. The next option you have is to put it into shares and bonds. Yeah. Okay, so bonds is where you invest. You give a loan of your money to companies and governments. You ever driving home in the evening, right? And you're in the car and you hear the Irish government raised money on the markets today. So when the Irish money needs money, it goes out to the markets and it says, we need money to build a hospital. We need more money to build the same hospital, right? We need money to build a hospital. And they borrow it. And what they do is they borrow the money and they say, in 10 years' time, we're going to pay you back. And in the meantime, we're going to give you interest. And what you can do is you can partake in the markets. You can become the markets. You and thousands of other people pool their money together and give a loan of your money to governments and give a loan of your money to big companies. So it's corporate bonds and government bonds. And I don't know enough about you, but let's just take our 60-40 split, right? So 40% of your money is going to go into bonds. We're not putting the money into bonds in the hope that we're going to get a whole pile of return. The reason why we're putting money into bonds is try and dilute the risk of the shares, because we're going to put money into shares as well. Is my explanation of how bonds work, does that make sense to you? Yeah. Okay. So we've got 40% of your money in bonds, right? The next 48% of your money, we're going to buy tiny bits of thousands of companies. Okay, I mean like thousands of companies. And when we do that, what we're going to do is you will pool your money again together with lots of other people, and you will pool it all in one go, and you will say, okay, we own a little bit, together we own a little bit of Meta, Facebook, Google, Tesla, Disney, Coca-Cola. Any big company in the world that you can imagine, you're going to own a tiny bit of it, okay? And if you can imagine there, you go, oh, this sounds risky, right? I'm scared. Is it making sense?
No. Yeah,
okay.
it is.
And what I would say is for most people, it's not that investing is scary or risky. It's just not understood, and it's hard to understand it. So you got 48% of your money is going into the world stock markets. You probably own every household name you can think of. Okay. And if you think about it, right, whatever happens in the world over the next 5, 10 and 15 years, you're sitting there and you're going, I own a piece of Coca-Cola, right? I own a piece of that business. Do I think that business is going to exist in 5 years' time? Yeah. Do I think that business is going to be stronger than it was today? Yeah. But this time next week, Coca-Cola might be on the floor, right? Yeah. But over a long periods of time when you're invested in everything, you are in a position where you should be able to take advantage of the progress companies make, okay? And you're going to invest in all the good ones and all the bad ones and everything in between because you're buying everything, right? So we've 40% of your money in bonds, 48% of your money in the world stock markets, and the last 12% we're going to divide into small companies outperform large companies, right? This is based on 100 years of data and people who won Nobel Prizes for proving this, right? Okay. Now, when I'm saying small company, I'm not talking about like a corner shop here. I'm talking about small relative to the size of Google, right? Yeah. Or Alphabet or whatever we're supposed to call it these days. So it's smaller than Google is. And what we do is smaller company, a little bit higher risk, so therefore a bit of higher expected return. We're going to put 6% of your money in there. The last 6% we're going to invest in value companies, right? Again, global companies spread across the world, we're going to invest in value companies. I don't know, a value company is where what we know about stock markets is that they overreact. Okay, and they overreact on the positive and they overreact on the negative. A value play is an overreaction on the negative. It's playing into the overreaction on the negative. Do you remember Richard Gere in Pretty Woman? Yeah. Do you remember what he did? Do you remember his job?
No.
Okay. So he was loaded. It was what we did know, right? Loaded and lonely, I think Richard was in Pretty Woman. But what he was asked, she said to him at once, I think she was in the bath at the time, and Julia said to Richard, she said, Richard, what do you do? He says, I buy companies on the stock market and I sell off all the bits for more than I paid for them on the stock market. Okay? So if you think about that in a real life circumstance, Ryanair, Michael O'Leary, about 10 or 12 years ago, tried to buy Aer Lingus, right? And at that time, you could buy Aer Lingus on the stock market and own all of Aer Lingus for €650 million. But if you sold all the Aer Lingus planes, all the slots in Heathrow, you sold the buildings at Dublin and Cork and Shannon and wherever else, you could have got 750 million euro for the assets. Right, so you could buy it on the stock market for 650 and sell it, all the bits of it, for 750. Like Richard Gere, but Michael O'Leary for a moment was a Richard Gere moment, right? He had a Richard Gere moment. But the point here is we know what's happened there is the stock market is overacted. It's driven down the share price to the point where the value of the shares is worth less than the value of the assets, and we play into that, right? So that's how we would construct a portfolio for you. But what you want to know is what's going to happen, right? If you took a chunk of your cash today, whether it's all of it because you're not going to use any of it for 5 years to buy a house, or some of it because you need to put some aside to buy a house in the next 5 years, you took a chunk of your cash today and invested it, all right? 12 months from today, there's a 25% chance you'll lose money. Okay? So 1 in 4.
Yeah.
Does that feel comfortable-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, we're not touching it for 5 years, right? 3 years from today, there's a 15% chance you'll have lost money. Okay, and how I'm working that out is I'm looking at the last 100 years, and I'm saying to myself, over the last 100 years, every 3-year period, and I plot it out, how many of the 3-year periods were positive and how many 3-year periods were negative. And 85% of them positive and 15% of them were negative.
Okay.
If you leave it alone for 5 years, there's a 0.4% chance you'll have lost money. So there's a 99.6% chance that money invested the way I've just described will make you money over a 5-year period.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, if you leave it alone for 7 or 8 or any period of time beyond 7 years, there has never in the last 100 years been a 7 or more year period where you would have lost money invested in that way. Okay?
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is when you set these things up, there is a 25% chance in 12 months' time you're going to be down. You're going to be looking at going, oh, you told me to put this money away and I'm down now.
Yeah.
Right? And what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to do nothing. In fact, every 3 to 5 years, we're going to have what the media call a stock market crash. And this is the stuff that scares people for investing. It's headlines that say, oh, this time is different. The world is never the same again. Financial markets are broken, all of this stuff. I don't call it a stock market crash. I call it a temporary decline. It's a decline and it's temporary. 80% of the time, the temporary declines will be fixed within a 3-year period. Is this stuff making sense?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is it giving you any comfort?
It is.
What I would say is, right, every 3 to 5 years we're going to have winter. Winter is coming, right? We know that it's going to, something is wrong. Think about the last 15 years, right? And not to diminish the humanitarian situations, but we've had Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, COVID, right? That's a big major event. Then we go back, we've had Brexit / Trump. We go back again, we've had the global financial crisis. So over the last 15 years, every 3 to 5 years, we've had some major event, okay?
Yeah.
And if you go back over 100, you'll plot them out every 3 to 5 years as something big. And what I would say is when those things happen, you'll be looking at me, if I was the one investing your money on your behalf, you'd be looking at me going, oh, what are we going to do? This is different, and the newspapers say it's different. It's different circumstances, but it's the same, right?
Yeah.
And it happens all the time. We're going to do absolutely nothing because we invest and we forget and we leave it alone, okay? What I'm saying to you is you've already, in the last 5 years alone, you have already lost 1,250 quid for every 10,000 euros you didn't invest. And they're real numbers based on today invested in that way.
Yeah.
Okay? You can decide that in 5 years from now, you're going to be in exactly the same position and you'll probably twice as much that you've lost compared to inflation. Okay? And that's for every 10,000 euros that you have sitting in your bank account that you're not putting to work. You go to school, you teach the students, you work hard, you have nice summers, you work hard, and your money is not working hard for you. You're working hard to get your money and it's not working hard for you. And you are signing yourself up to financial stress if you just sit on this money. It's easy to be broke and not, I have to retract that, right? It's not easy to be broke and not buy a house. But when you're sitting on a lot of cash, it's a sin to be sitting on a lot of cash when you're not putting it to work at all. Because there are other people out there, if they had your opportunity, would be doing something with it.
Yeah.
And just because you have cash sitting there and you're kind of just not sure what to do, you need to take the time to make some decisions and say, you know what, a decision is I'm not buying right now, or a decision is I am definitely buying in the next 12 months and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And once you've made that decision, you can start making decisions around the rest of your finances.
Yeah.
Does it make sense what I'm talking about in terms of how the money gets invested?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah,
Do
definitely.
you recognise that you can't keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah,
And you
I
need to
do.
make a decision that I'm doing something, or
Yeah.
a decision might be that I'm doing absolutely nothing. I'm going to sit in my cash until I buy a
Yeah.
house.
I'm going to do something.
What's your gut feel right now about what you might do?
I would like to invest. I would like to know like how to invest.
Okay.
Like I get what you're saying, but where do I do that?
Excellent question. Okay. So you can always come to prosperous.ie, right?
Yeah.
You can come, obviously you can come to us, but let's not just, like, generally what I would suggest is you can walk into a bank and they will, in fact, one of the banks has a thing called a 60-40 portfolio. And a bank executive told me, one of the senior execs in one of those banks came to me and says, oh yeah, we kept having people coming in asking for Eoin McGee's 60-40 portfolio. So now we have a 60-40 portfolio. I was like, right, I didn't get paid for that one. Thanks, guys. But what I would say is you can go into a bank and you can do it, right?
Okay,
and
any bank?
Any bank will be able to do it for you. They'll be able to set it up for you, no problem. A lot of the bigger credit unions will have an opportunity to do it as well. Ask your friends who their financial advisor is or financial planner is. It's not something we talk to about with people in Ireland. We don't talk about financial advice or financial planning and who looks after your money. Talk to your friends and see who it is. If you're stuck, come to us, right? And if you're not stuck and you want to come to us. Absolutely, we'll look after you. And we have offerings at every level, depending. It doesn't even matter how much is in your account, because if you have money to invest, we will help you and we'll build a plan around it and we'll sort it out, okay? But what I would say is definitely do something about it. When you do engage, if you went straight to the bank or you go straight somewhere else and you're not coming to someone like us, right? What I would say is just be really careful of charges.
Yeah.
So there's two ways they'll charge you. One is they'll charge you on the way in. So say you're putting 10 grand in, they might charge you €300 to invest it.
Okay.
And that's what they'll call 97% allocation. They always err on the side of positivity. We're giving you 97% allocation, which converted into real man's language means we're charging you 3% on the way in. If they say they're giving you 98% allocation, they're going to charge you 2% on the way in.
Yeah.
Our starting point is always 100% allocation. Okay? And that's the first thing to look at. And then the second way they'll charge you is on an ongoing basis. So in and around 1.5% would be around normal for an investment like this. So it's
of how much is invested?
Exactly, of how much is invested. And what they do there is they take 1/365th of 1.5% out every day. So it's not that on the 3rd of January every year we take 1.5% of your money. They take it out every day gradually throughout the years, typically the way it's done.
Yeah.
And they should be the only two charges you're keeping an eye out. There should be no allocation charge. You should be getting 100% and you should be looking at 1.5% is what you should be paying. There is a tax in the way in at 1%. If you battle hard, you'll get rid of that tax as well.
Okay.
The tax is 1%. They call it a levy. It's a tax, right? So what I would say is talk to your friends, talk to family, ask them where have you invested money. If you do go into the bank in particular, any bank, I don't care which bank it is, be really careful of that allocation rate thing.
Yeah.
But like,
and do they have to say that straight out too? Do they have to say this?
Yeah, the legislation changed a couple of years ago that they said they have to talk to you about the charges. They are written in the documentation. You can go and find them as well. But if you ask a straight question and say, what's the allocation rate on that? They have to answer. And if you're getting any kind of run around,
it's not reading
leg
tiny
it.
small print or any of that.
No, but you ask, what's the ongoing charges and what's the entry costs or the allocation rate is the easier one to ask. And if you're getting any kind of concerns around what they're saying to you, they're the wrong people for you.
Okay.
But what I would say is that you really need to get a handle on how much of my money do I need in the next 5 years, because that's the key question for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, you've lost 1,250 quid just on the last 12 months alone, on the last 5 years alone, just based on 10k.
Yeah.
And you're going to just make that exponentially worse in the years to come if you don't do something about it.
Okay.
Tell me, because I live, breathe and eat this stuff all day, every day, right? When I'm bringing you through that investment philosophy and how we think about investing, does it make sense to you?
Yeah, no, it does.
I'm not expecting that you'd be able to regurgitate it. What I'm hoping is you're looking at it going, actually, that just makes sense and it's just maths and it just works. Is that what you're getting from it?
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
And would it make any difference to you in terms of, will you now actually go and say, right, I'm going to find someone and get some of this money?
Yeah, I will. Like, I didn't know that you could just walk into a bank and do that. So,
okay.
Yeah, that definitely will be.
The last thing I want to do is give a big plug to the banks, right?
Yeah.
The last thing I'm doing is giving a big... So you can walk into a bank, you can do it, but really, and I cannot stress the importance of checking the charges when wherever you're doing it, right? Yeah. And we are dealing with everybody at every level. Some people think, oh, you're only for people who are really struggling. And some people think, oh, you're only for people who are really, really wealthy. We're for everyone. And I know that sounds like an absolute plug. Now I'm just concerned that I've sent you off to the bank and you're going to get eaten up by them and it's not going to work out.
I'll compare your charges with theirs.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I would just make sure you understand what you're going into. Sometimes, so just be careful about that. But doing nothing is no longer a solution for you. You've been sitting on it for 10 years and it's too long.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Have you anything you want to ask me?
I do. So, this is another thing now. So I was also working in the UK for a while. And I worked there for 2 years. And I saw that you had a thing talking about the pension over there, contributing to that. Is that all over?
It's not all over. So your problem is you only did 2 years.
Yeah, but I looked online, and because does it go from January to December? Is that what they consider?
So there's a couple of things, but I would say you should definitely apply, because it says so just to bring everyone up to speed, people who have worked in the UK for a period of time may be entitled to a pension from His Majesty. I was going to say Her Majesty. May be entitled to a pension from His Majesty. What we're looking at there is the same way you get an Irish state pension at retirement, you may be entitled to a state pension in the UK.
Yeah.
Okay, the rules say that you have to have worked 36 consecutive months over there before you get on the pitch. Okay, once you're on the pitch, then you need to get yourself up to 10 years contributions over there before you're actually entitled to it, to get any type of a pension at all. And what I've been finding, originally we had a deadline, I think, of March this year. Then it moved to July, and they got so inundated with it that they've now moved the deadline to 2025. Because you have an opportunity right now for years between the year 2006 and 2016 that you weren't there. That window is open until 2025 to buy the years you missed in that 10-year period.
Yeah.
Okay? And in ordinary times, you can go back, I think it's 4 years. But if you've got 3 and you can only buy 4, that only brings you up to 7. So you need that window between 2006 to 2016 so that you can buy the last 4 years and whatever years you missed in there in between 6 and 16 to bring you up to the 10. What I've found is and if anyone is listening to this and is wondering how to do this, if you just Google UK International Pension Centre, and in there you'll find all the instructions about how you apply for it. I would, if I were you, I don't know what the anomaly is, but some people seem to say, oh no, I was only there for 2 years and I've applied for it, and they've said to me, I can get actually go and buy extra years, even though I had less than 3 years to start with. So there's a bit of confusion there, but they have it in writing, and I know anecdotally of a couple of people who had less than 3 years.
Yeah.
So you definitely need to go off, Google UK International Pension Centre and apply and see, do you still have your number? I'm not sure your national insurance number.
Yeah.
If you still have that, that's a big step closer. If you don't, you can still get that as well. But just go and apply, and they will tell you whether you're entitled to buy back years or not.
Would that be a good thing to do with some of the money?
Yes, it absolutely would. Yeah, it would.
Okay.
Because like the maths on it is typically you'll either have to pay 800 quid a year or for every year you want to buy, or 280 quid for every year you want to buy. But once you get up over the 10 years, it generally works out that if you get the cheaper contribution, you have to live for 7 months after retirement to get your money back. And if it's the more expensive, I think you have to live for about 3 years after retirement to get your money back, and everything beyond that is profit.
Okay.
So yeah, it is worth doing.
So then just online trading platforms. I did join one of those in 2018 and just dabbled a little bit in it. What do you think of those?
Nuts! You're absolutely nuts. You're sitting here. I'm pulling my hair out because you're sitting on cash for 10 years because you're afraid of investing. You're afraid to buy a gaff. And you're afraid to invest. And we're sitting there and you've took it online.
Please calm down.
Online trading platform. That's an online betting platform for you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. What I hate about those platforms is a couple of things. First of all, it encourages all the wrong behaviours. Okay, it encourages to go in and check it all the time and see is it up, is it down.
That is what I was doing, and then I was like, this isn't a good idea, so I just stopped and I left it there.
Good.
And now it's just I don't
sitting
do anything.
there.
It's still in it, but yeah.
It's. I always talk about invest and forget. Set it up right at the start. Leave it alone and let it run.
Yeah.
Okay, that encourages you to kind of pick and choose and buy this one and buy that one. And it'll sell you funds, but it also will try and flog you stocks like individual shares. Anyone who invests, who thinks they're investing, anyone who buys less shares in less than 5 companies, that's betting. That's not investing. Okay? They make money when you buy and when you sell.
Yeah.
Okay, so their whole thing is going to be, I don't care which online trading platform it is, their whole thing is going to be encourage you to buy and sell, which is exactly the wrong thing you need to do when it comes to investing.
Yeah.
It's not betting, okay? Like there was a company in the US actually who they had all these direct customers, right? They weren't an online platform, they were an investment house. They had a whole pile of like a couple of 100,000 customers who invested directly with them and bought their funds, right? And what they said was, they looked at it and they said, there's the best 50 customers we have. They have outperformed everybody else. And they said, I wonder what their secret sauce was. So they went about contacting them and saying, can you tell us how you decided on your investment strategy? Do you know what they found? 80% of them were either dead or forgotten about the account.
Oh my God.
So basically what they did was they bought it at the start, they forgot about it and they let it run. That's exactly the opposite to what these online trading platforms are encouraging, is to leave the thing alone. The other problem I have with them is the majority, if not all of these online trading platforms, the taxes are your responsibility. The amount of times I've had people say, oh, you made loads of money on that. Did you pay the tax? Huh? And you go, yeah, you have to pay tax on that. And it's an absolute headache because it's not looked after internally. You have to look after yourself personally. So unless you absolutely knew exactly what you were doing, and even at that, I'd question whether you're going to be able to do it right or not. Like for you to walk in here to get started and say, I don't know how to invest, I know nothing about it, and then tell me you have an online trading platform. They're two different, very different things, right? I know nothing about horse racing and I don't have an online betting account, right?
Yeah.
And what I would say is there are people who are paid millions every year to beat the stock market, and they don't. In fact, 60% of them don't. You are going to do incredibly well to be lucky with an online trading platform. Okay. Get rid of it, close it out, and invest your money long term, invest and forget. And
then with the tax, like, does the bank look after all that if you're doing company or whatever?
Yeah, if you're going to invest long term with somebody, most of them, like 99% in Ireland, for a retail investor, like you're a retail investor, you will walk in, they will look after the taxes, and everything you take out of it will be tax paid.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it.
I'm going to leave the last word to you, right? You come in here today, you might buy a property, you may not. What I'm asking you to do is go away and decide, am I going to buy a property in the next 5 years or not? And if you're not, just invest all your money. And if you are, put some money aside for the deposit, invest the rest, because you cannot sit here and be sitting here in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
Okay? It's the end of 2023. You do not want to be sitting here in 2028 still sitting in a bank account. I hope I've given you some insight into how to invest money. It's simple, it's boring, it's straightforward. Have I succeeded?
You have, Owen. Well done.
Excellent.
Very good. Yeah, no, I will. I'll definitely get up off my butt now and do that.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking the time out. Really
Thanks so much
appreciate
for
you
having
coming on
me.
the show.